are watching Global Dragon TV's Special Report. Thanks for joining us for a special report on Doug Dearth. Doug Dearth began his career as an actor working with noted directors Stephen Frears, Bruce Beresford, Clint Eastwood, and Harold Ramis, before moving behind the camera to pursue his desire for making impactful and inspirational films. Doug made his directorial debut in 2009 with the award-winning documentary 9,000 Needles, a film about his brother's journey to China as he turns to traditional medicine to recover from a devastating stroke. Shortly thereafter, Doug produced and directed Under the Knife Abroad, a one-hour investigative documentary which followed American patients who chose to travel abroad for their health care due to the limits of care in the United States. He went on to direct the feature film Underdogs, which was released theatrically in the fall of 2013. Following that, he directed and produced two one-hour TV specials for AMC's Into the Badlands, which aired in July 2015. He then shot the docu-series Cooper's Treasure, which aired on Discovery Channel in 2017. He then returned to AMC to produce two documentary specials for The Walking Dead, followed by his latest feature film, Odd Man Rush, which is currently being streamed on Hulu and other digital platforms. Returning to his passion for traditional Chinese medicine, Doug created Getting to the Point, a new docu-series which highlights programs and practitioners in the United States which are successfully integrating traditional Chinese medicine into the Western medical system. His most recent project, Return to Life, is a documentary which dives into the fascinating and promising world of neuroacupuncture. Return to Life is a documentary film which dives into the fascinating and promising world of neuroacupuncture. We learn how Dr. Jason Howe and Dr. Linda Howe have developed this unique treatment and have teamed up with Western medicine doctors and practitioners to treat patients with traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder, muscular sclerosis, stroke, autism, and many other challenging neurological conditions. Through personal, inspiring, and heartwarming stories of patients who have benefited from neuroacupuncture, the film explores the challenges and opportunities that come with bringing this miraculous treatment to those who need it most and the Neuroacupuncture Institute's desire to train more doctors and practitioners on this life-changing and oftentimes life-saving medicine. 9,000 Needles documents the fate of Devin Dearth, a successful businessman and champion bodybuilder who suffered a devastating stroke caused by a bleed in his brainstem, leaving him paralyzed on his right side, unable to walk, and with difficulty speaking. Desperate for some kind of miracle, and with the help of his brother Doug, the film director, Devin travels to a stroke rehabilitation center in Tianjin, China, with hopes that their program, which uses acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, to treat patients suffering from stroke, will put him on the road to recovery.
Good morning, Doug. Welcome to our show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, Doug, you started your career as an actor. You have worked with some very well-known Hollywood producers and directors, including my favorite Clint Eastwood and also Stephen Frears, and just to name a few. However, it's your passion for directing and producing inspirational documentaries that made you into an award-winning producer. So tell us about your 9,000 Needles. That's your very first documentary. However, it has won some major industry awards as a best documentary.
Yeah, 9,000 Needles came more out of necessity. You know, they say be careful what you wish for. I was just in a point in my career where I really wanted to do a documentary because I'd always loved them. And my brother, my younger brother, who's younger by a year, had a really devastating stroke, a brainstem bleed. And he and his family were having trouble getting the care he needed here. This was a few years ago now with the healthcare system. And I had heard about a program in Tianjin, China, where they were treating stroke patients by integrating traditional Chinese medicine with kind of our typical, which we consider Western techniques like therapy and physical therapy and all those things, and did a bunch of research and decided to talk with my family about taking my brother over there to try this. And
that was quite a leap of faith, I have to say, for traveling that far to seek help. So what surprised you most about China when you went there?
Well, two things surprised me the most. I mean, thrilled at, in general, just the people there were so friendly and kind and hospitable. You know, they were very gracious hosts. And so that was really nice just because I'd never been to China. I didn't expect anything less, but it was just really nice to see. And second was the healthcare there at the time was just so much different. Here in the United States, when you go to the hospital, they send you to like 5 different specialists in 5 different locations, and nobody knows what the other person is prescribing or doing. And one of the things I love the most about the hospital in China is once a week, every doctor or caretaker that was involved in my brother's care gathered around his bed together and talked about their strategy, you know, for care and approach. So everybody was kind of on the same page, and they were doing each of their occupations, whether it was a physical therapist or an acupuncturist or the, you know, tweener masseuse. Everybody knew this strategy and this plan for care, and so it was working very in sync with each other. And
Yeah,
it,
so it's a more integrated care approach,
yeah,
focusing on patient. Yes,
yeah,
yes. I think that's one major difference between Western medicine and Chinese medicine. And one consider Chinese medicine more considered person as a whole. Every parts of your body, every organ is all integrated into one. So in the U.S., of course, we go to see our specialists.
yeah,
Yeah, each specialist do not know what the other party is
right.
doing. Yeah.
And sometimes their care is contradictory, so that's not good either, you know. So that was really nice. That was a really educational experience for me to see that. And
Yeah.
when I
Well,
showed the film around the United States to different universities and hospitals, a lot of the nurses and doctors commented on that very fact too, and said that that's something they wish could happen here more often.
yeah, I think that part of the reason 9,000 Needles as your first major production won some industry awards is because it's also very personal and you have your heart and soul in there. So what was that journey, a healing journey for your family, for your brother?
Well, it was definitely a hard decision to make a film about your family, especially at the moment when such a crisis is happening. One of the things I did is I teamed up with my partner Doug Busby, and I wanted to bring somebody along to help me because sometimes when I would do interviews with my family, they weren't, I guess maybe, I don't want to say open and honest, but when they spoke to somebody who wasn't family, he got a little more information out of everybody. And sometimes he he pushed the envelope as far as filming some really heartbreaking scenes that maybe as a brother I would have felt a little strange doing. So it was kind of a nice combination for us to film that together. I did tell my family from the get-go, which I normally don't do as a documentary filmmaker, but I did say I will show you the film at the end, and if there's anything in it you don't like, I will take it out. And once they saw the final film, there was nothing in there that they wanted taken out. But I just wanted them to feel safe to speak freely and honestly, and not sort of edit themselves just because they were worried about a film being made. But I also thought one of the reasons my brother always, when he was healthy, was he would go to prisons and teach prisoners and about fitness and health and all these things. He was a very service oriented person. And I kind of felt like it was such a devastating stroke when he agreed to do the film. I kind of felt like every morning he would wake up and feel like he should be getting better because we're making a movie about it. So it was kind of a fun thing because I wanted to give his brain and his spirit something else to concentrate on besides just, you know, the stroke. So something creative, and the fact that we were making a film and he was participating in it just gave his mind something else to concentrate on sometimes throughout the day.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about your most recent movie project, Return to Life, which is another fascinating documentary about the remarkable healing power of acupuncture. In this case, neuroacupuncture is a specialty that not many Americans have heard about it. So tell us about this movie.
Well, I was introduced to Dr. Jason Howe through a friend, and I had been in ever since 9,000 Needles. because I went all the way to China, I was very interested in doing more films about some of the programs and some of the practitioners and doctors that are right here in the US, because I didn't want everyone to feel like they had to go all the way to China to get care. So I started looking for stories and looking for programs here in the US that were successfully using acupuncture and Chinese medicine to treat patients. So I met Dr. Jason, and I went to New Mexico and met with him and Dr. Linda Howe, husband and wife. And I started really investigating and researching this neuroacupuncture they do. And it was really fascinating because it wasn't based in the meridians like normal acupuncture. It was very based in Western anatomy and the neurological system of the brain. So it was very fascinating. And then I went to a class they were teaching practitioners. I went to a weekend workshop that they were giving, and they brought in some real patients, some people, some children with autism, and some people that had suffered stroke, and they were demonstrating on these patients for the students, and just some really amazing things would happen right on the spot. And so I just became fascinated with it and decided I wanted to do a film about it.
Well, it is truly amazing. And I have the good fortune to actually interview Dr. Howe 2 years ago because I was quite amazed about the healing results that neuroacupuncture on some of the very difficult neurological disorders, as you mentioned, in the trauma, brain injury, stroke, and post traumatic distress disorder. In lots of those conditions, the Western medicine have little option, very few options to treat them effectively. However, using acupuncture, neuroacupuncture technique, and very few side effects, and in a very short period of time, and patients do see remarkable results. And well, by producing two major acupuncture movies now in the industry, in the acupuncture world, you're becoming a subject matter expert. And I'm also fascinated by another production that you have done. It's called the Under the Knife Abroad. So tell us about this movie, and how did you decide to choose a subject matter focusing on health, especially overseas health, and what Americans are going through?
Well, yes. After doing 9,000 Needles and traveling over to China, I started to see that other Americans were emailing me and reaching out to me and talking about this idea of traveling to other countries. Number one, it was a lot less expensive. For people who don't have insurance at the time, an MRI here, might cost you $10,000. And, at the hospital in China, it was, a little over $100. So you start adding those things up, and if you're paying for healthcare out of your own pocket, a lot of Americans were making the decision to travel overseas for healthcare. So we decided to do a film about it called Under the Knife Abroad, and we followed four different Americans. To one of them was going to India, Chennai, India, for a hip replacement surgery. He had his own business in Texas, and he didn't have any health insurance, so he was self-insured. And he was able to go to India and get a hip replacement and then stay at a resort for a week of recovery, and all for a price that he could afford to pay out of his pocket versus here, where it would probably have bankrupted him. So, and then we followed a couple who was trying to get IVF, for having a child. So they went down to Barbados, which was really nice. And then we followed another woman who had to have some post-surgery screws and things removed from her ankle and knee that were causing infections, and she went to Mexico. So, I wasn't sure how safe these places would be. We don't know as Americans, but doing the film, I found that all of the care they received was phenomenal, and it was the right choice for them. And I just kind of wanted to, at the time, healthcare was a big debate in this country, and I just felt really compelled to investigate Americans who were deciding to travel outside the country for their healthcare.
Yeah, actually, it's a fascinating story considering the healthcare challenges that we're facing currently on the pandemic. Many of your movies and your projects are very inspirational and also focusing on everyday people life. So why did you decide to do that?
Well, I think I just have always felt I'm just always fascinated by watching people who have to overcome such odds, after going through it with my brother. And in doing a film like 9,000 Needles, a lot of other people reach out to you and share their stories, people who've had injuries or things like that and go on to do really amazing things. So I just feel like today there's so many between the superhero movies and there's just I just feel like it's nice to remind people that we all have a very strong spirit and that we're capable of doing many things. And we sometimes forget, we look up to other people when they do amazing things, but we forget that we have it in us to do that as well. And I just want to encourage people, especially these days with the pandemic and that are having hard times, that you know they have that same spirit in them as my brother did and everybody else does. And I just want to encourage people to one day at a time, try and recover or try and get healthy or financially recover, whatever it is. I just want to show films that people see that's possible, and it inspires them by watching them.
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of superpowers, and we're everyday people, we are superheroes. And
Yes.
so that you have definitely built yourself a reputation for producing really human and touching and inspirational documentaries. So, what is your future plan?
Well, I've been doing some feature films now, which are really fun. I just had a hockey movie, a sports movie, but again, with a very inspirational message, was released the end of last year, called Odd Man Rush. That's on Hulu right now. So I want to do some more feature films, but I also want to do some more documentaries. And I would like to keep focusing on this acupuncture and Chinese medicine, because one of the experiences I've had is that every story I've told so far is people turning to Chinese medicine as a last resort. Everything's failed them in Western medicine. There seems to be no hope. So they're finally like, I'm going to try this. I have no other choice. And I want to educate people enough so that it becomes potentially a first choice. When it comes to stroke, like my brother, I feel like if he would have went to China 4 or 5 months earlier than he did, when he was a little closer to the initial stroke, he may have gotten even more beneficial results as I've educated myself on the subject. So a lot of times when you have an injury, going to a medicine like this, if it's appropriate, can have some really great results in the beginning when your brain's just starting to heal, especially like a neuroacupuncture or something like that. But waiting 5 years and trying everything else and just turning to this medicine when everything else has failed you, it can still help, but it may not help as much as it could have. So I would like to continue to spread the word on this, because I want people to maybe turn to it sooner in some cases when it's appropriate.
Yeah. Well, I have a little secret to share with you, Doug. And your work, your stories that you share in your documentaries have been noticed, not only by the industry, major film festivals, but also by patients and also healthcare professionals. There's an upcoming major traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture conference called the 21st World Congress on natural healing, traditional Chinese medicine against COVID. And you will be recognized and thanked by the healthcare professionals in traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture for your contribution to acupuncture, to educate the public, and to producing all these inspirational movies. So
Oh,
congratulations.
wow. Well, thank you. I mean, it's my pleasure and honor to do so, but it does feel good to be recognized. So I really appreciate that. And I'm just so happy that I've been blown away by the support, and I'm so surprised and happy that all the practitioners out there who are really doing the work um, um, have appreciated my work as well. So it's a good team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Doug, thank you again for being on our show, and I'm looking forward to hopefully working with you on the future collaboration and focusing on health and natural healing, traditional Chinese medicine, because that's my passion as well.
Thank you. And I would love to. And I can't wait to hear more. I've read a little bit about your personal story and I'm really fascinated. So I can't wait to talk to you more.
Well, thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Rose.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye bye.
If you would like to be featured on our show, please contact us at globaldragontv@gmail.com. Please tune in to our next special report on our 24-hour channel or visit our website at www.globaldragontv.com. Are you interested in becoming the master of your own life, health, wealth, and wellness? Learn from top masters around the globe. Please visit our website at www.globalmasterclass.org.